Nobody expected this from Rory McIlroy, especially not at a tournament he's dominated before. For a guy who's made the RBC Canadian Open look like a personal playground, Rory's opening round in 2025 felt like a slap across the leaderboard. The four-time major champion and two-time Canadian Open winner wasn't just expected to perform, he was counted on to deliver fireworks. After lifting the trophy in 2019 and again in 2022, fans were already humming "Ol, ol, ol" before he'd even teed off. The setup couldn't have been sweeter. McIlroy was returning to a tournament he's ruled before, skipping the high-profile Memorial Tournament to focus here instead. Golf fans were ready for a show, but instead, they got a shocker. And just like that, the fan favorite became the biggest question mark of the tournament. All eyes were on Rory as he stepped onto the tee at Hamilton Golf and Country Club. The expectation? A masterclass. The reality? A 1 over par 71 that had jaws dropping from Toronto to Twitter. This wasn't the Rory who charged through fields like a man on fire. This was a version stuck in neutral, missing fairways, misreading putts, and leaving fans squinting at the scoreboard like, is that right? 10 strokes off the lead by the end of the round. 10. Suddenly the weekend didn't look like a victory march, it looked like survival mode. Who would have thought we'd be talking about Rory and the cut line in the same sentence? Remember, this wasn't just any tournament, it was meant to be his tune-up, his launch pad for the US Open, a championship he's still desperate to reclaim. But as he walked off the 18th green, you could almost feel the confusion in the air, like everyone was silently asking the same thing. What happened out there? The course wasn't brutal and others were going low. Pendrith, Lowry, Hadwin, Rory, fumbling. When the spotlight hit, Rory didn't shine. He blinked. And this might just be the beginning of a much deeper problem, because what came next? No one saw coming. When Rory McIlroy made the call to skip the prestigious Memorial Tournament, a longtime staple in his season schedule, fans and analysts alike raised eyebrows. But Rory was clear. This was about building towards something bigger. He wasn't chasing just another solid finish. He wanted momentum. He wanted the win. And the RBC Canadian Open? That was supposed to be his springboard into US Open domination, a smart, calculated strategy on paper. But now, with a 71 on the board and 10 strokes to catch up, that strategy is starting to smell like a serious misfire. Think about it. The Memorial, hosted by Jack Nicklaus himself, is no throwaway event. It's elite, it's historic, and it draws out the best. And yet Rory pulled the plug, fully confident that the Canadian Open, a tournament he's owned before, would offer the cleaner path to glory. The problem? This year's field didn't read the same script. Taylor Pendrith came out swinging. Shane Lowry was dialed in. Even Canadian hopefuls looked razor sharp. Meanwhile, Rory was out there looking like he brought a warm-up swing to a Sunday major. Did he outsmart himself, or was this just the wrong place, wrong time? Either way, it backfired. Badly. Before the first tee shot even echoed through Hamilton, Rory gave hints at his mindset. According to reports from Golf Monthly, he was laser-focused on fine-tuning for Pinehurst. He called the Canadian Open his ideal prep. Wide fairways, fast greens, and a comfortable setting. He'd won here before. Why not win again and walk into the US Open with rocket fuel in the tank? The logic made sense. The execution? Not so much. When you play chess, you better not miss the checkmate staring you down on move 3. Now that strategy first thinking has turned into serious second guessing. The media's circling, fans are scratching their heads, and Rory? Well, if there's frustration boiling under that calm exterior, he's doing a masterful job of hiding it. But make no mistake, this wasn't part of the plan. And if round 1 was any sign, that plan is falling apart fast. Just when you thought it couldn't get worse for Rory McIlroy, it turns out the drama didn't start at the RBC Canadian Open. It had already been bubbling beneath the surface since the PGA Championship. And at the center of it all, his driver, the same club he's built his legacy on. According to People magazine, McIlroy's driver failed a conformity test during practice rounds at Valhalla. It was a private test meant to stay behind closed doors. But somehow word got out, and once it leaked, the damage was already done. Rory didn't just lose confidence in his club, he lost control of the narrative. In the world of professional golf, equipment isn't just gear, it's identity. For Rory, known for his towering drives and aggressive play off the tee, a driver controversy is no small thing. Now imagine heading into a key tournament like the RBC Canadian Open with whispers swirling about whether your gear is even legal. Even if the club was replaced, the questions weren't. Was it the driver? Was it the swing? Was he rattled? When the foundation of your game starts to shake, the rest of your round collapses with it. McIlroy didn't take the leak lightly. In fact, he made it very clear just how furious he was. Speaking to reporters after the fact, Rory said, "There's a reason these tests are confidential. When something like this gets selectively leaked, it's incredibly disappointing. I chose not to speak to the media that week because I wanted to avoid fueling the fire." That silence at the PGA? It wasn't a media snub, it was damage control. He didn't want to get dragged into a circus, but by staying quiet, he left the speculation to spiral. And now that silence is echoing even louder after round 1 at the Canadian Open. Rory may be trying to focus forward, but golf doesn't forget. Neither do fans. And right now, with his swing under scrutiny and his strategy under fire, there's a storm building. And it all started with a driver that wasn't supposed to make headlines, but did. From former champion to fighting for survival, it was all going sideways for Rory. Rory McIlroy's opening round at the 2025 RBC Canadian Open didn't just lack fireworks, it barely sparked. According to The Sun Ireland, the 4-time major winner came out flat from the very first tee. Early bogeys piled up on holes where he normally pounces, and his putter looked like it had forgotten the GPS to the cup. A missed birdie on the par 5 4th? That one stung. A 3-putt on the 8th? That one echoed. The momentum never showed up, and McIlroy walked off the front 9 looking more like a rookie on a sponsor's exemption than a 2-time champion. It wasn't just a bad day, it was a slow bleed, and nobody could stop it. By the time he reached the back 9, Rory needed a miracle to salvage the round. But that miracle never came. Instead, what followed was a series of safe plays, uncertain swings, and tight-lipped frustration. He ended the day at 1 over par, a full 10 shots behind the leaders. But the real kicker? The projected cut line sat at 2 under. That means McIlroy wasn't just behind, he was slipping out of the tournament. A missed cut at a tournament designed to prep for the US Open? That's not just a stumble. That's a gut punch. The clock isn't just ticking, it's screaming. And Rory knows it. This wasn't supposed to be survival golf. This was supposed to be a statement week, a momentum builder, a confidence restorer. Instead, every swing looked like it was second-guessed in real time. Fans watched with a mix of disbelief and concern. How could someone who once owned this event now be clawing just to make Friday's cut? The optics weren't just bad, they were brutal. Because when the weekend is in doubt, the legacy is suddenly up for debate. And just like that, the RBC Canadian Open went from being Rory's comfort zone to a crisis point. But as we're about to see, things were still only getting worse. Golf Twitter was in chaos, and not the good kind. As Rory McIlroy's scorecard spiraled and the leaderboard left him behind, social media turned into a full-blown reaction zone. Fans weren't just confused, they were devastated. Some pleaded for calm. He'll bounce back, it's Rory. Others weren't as kind. This guy skipped the memorial for this? There were memes, there were hot takes, and there were even calls questioning if something bigger was going on behind the scenes. For a golfer who usually unites fans with booming drives and clutch moments, this felt like the beginning of a messy breakup. And in the world of golf, public silence is rare, but public meltdown? That gets loud. While Rory was leaking strokes, the rest of the field was lighting it up. Taylor Pendrith looked like he was in cruise control. Shane Lowry was playing with ice in his veins. Even hometown underdogs were rising to the occasion. The contrast was brutal. McIlroy, the star, unraveling in slow motion while others stole the spotlight. The same fairways Rory once carved with precision now looked like a minefield. It wasn't just a bad day, it was a dramatic fall from grace, playing out in real time. The heartbreak cut even deeper for fans who remembered the glory days. Just 3 years ago in 22, Rory put on a clinic at this very event. He was unstoppable, dominant, confident, untouchable. Crowds roared with every swing. Now, that same tournament has him fighting to avoid embarrassment. It's like watching your favorite hero walk into battle with no sword. The nostalgia is there, but it hurts now. Because when legends stumble, they don't just fall. They crash into memories we thought were untouchable. And that's why fans were speechless. Not because Rory had a bad round, he's had those before, but because this was supposed to be his week, his bounce back, his resurrection. Instead, it turned into a public unraveling, and it wasn't over yet. The question on everyone's mind now is simple, but seismic. Can Rory McIlroy pull off the miracle? After an opening round that left fans stunned and the cut line looming large, all eyes turned to Friday as if there's one thing golf has taught us, it's that McIlroy is capable of comebacks that defy the odds. But this time felt different. The swing didn't just look off, it looked unsure. The energy? Flat. The body language? Tense. Still, hope lingers. All it takes is one electric round to flip the script. Birdie birdie start, a few bombs off the tee, maybe a hot putter, and suddenly he's back in the mix. But if he starts slow again, well, even miracles need momentum, and right now, Rory doesn't have any. Beyond the Canadian Open, the stakes are stacking up fast. This tournament was supposed to sharpen his edge for the US Open, a major he hasn't won since 2011. The plan was simple: dominate in Canada, carry confidence into Pinehurst, and take a real shot at ending the drought, but instead he's left trying to shake off embarrassment and salvage dignity. That's not momentum, it's damage control. And make no mistake, every swing this weekend could echo into next month. Because if Rory fades here, what happens when the pressure cranks up at a major? So we ask you, is this just a slump, or are we watching the beginning of something bigger? Is this the moment Rory turns it around and silences the critics with a vintage comeback? Or are we witnessing a deeper crack in the armor of one of golf's modern greats? You've followed the drama, you've seen the fallout. Now it's your turn to weigh in. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Do you believe Rory can bounce back, or has something shifted for good? And if you want to dig deeper into what's really going on behind the scenes, click on our next video: how Rory's PGA meltdown is still haunting him. Because this story, it's not over, not even close, and the next chapter could change everything.